Hello, everybody, and welcome to Wall Street Hackers, one of the top-rated shows on the Pod TV network. I'm going to be your moderator, one of your moderators, Nick Palavita. And with that, we have our other co-moderator, who's the president of the Pod TV network. So we're going to bring her in right away, Kim Calhoun. Kim, welcome to the Wall Street Hackers. Are we ready to bring in the hacker himself? Because he's the person who's going to do all the heavy lifting. This gentleman is a graduate of the University of California, Los Angeles, otherwise known as UCLA, where he received his bachelor's degree. He also received a master's degree in business administration from NYU and a law degree from the University of Miami, spending 17 years in the Wall Street area working on financial data as the hacker himself. Let's bring in Mr. Peter Bennett. Peter, time for you to do the heavy lifting.
Thanks, Nick. Hi, Kim.
Sit and support. Okay.
Sure. So, Wall Street Hackers, you can catch a new episode almost every week starting on Thursdays, especially on podtv.tv and all other distribution channels. Kim, if we could bring up the first chart, our favorite chart that we always bring up about where people made money in the last 50 years.
Okay, give me a second.
Okay.
If you could talk about something else.
Okay. Well,
if you could talk about something
else,
I'll bring it up. I'll bring it up.
Okay, bring it up.
A minute.
Sorry about that, audience. So this is a chart. Oh, here we go.
There it is.
Of dividend growers, dividend payers, and an equal S&P 500. And if you put $100 in 1973. If you went with the strategies that Wall Street Hackers likes, which is dividend payers, dividend growers, it's hard to find dividend initiators. At least I don't find a lot, but I would rather have somebody with a track record anyway. But look at the difference on the returns over 50 years. It's huge. Not to mention dividend non-payers, how poorly they did. So that's our general theme is go with safe dividend payers and, of course, energy too right now. So if we could bring up the second chart, Kim, if you could do that quickly. If not, I'll hold it up. Okay, I'm going to just show it up. This is an easy one to follow. So here we go. This is the S&P 500 over 1 year, and I've been noticing this. So it has been in a very tight range. No, that's can we take that down, Kim? That's continued unemployment claims. We never did that before the show. So the S&P 500, this is the chart. And this range is extremely tight. So you're looking at basically floating around 400, 410. A year ago, it was at 400. Now it's at 410. Now, okay, you could say you broke even except for inflation if it's running at 6%. Now we're talking about losing 6% of the value of your portfolio in real terms. And so it just shows this is a tough market. And I don't like to brag, but I'm really proud of what Wall Street Hackers has done in the last year and a half. I mean, there were 92 different sectors that were looked at last year, and only 2 were positive. The number one was energy. And where did we say put your money, most of it? Wall Street Hackers had about 30% in energy. And we're staying with energy now down to about 24%, but we have 92 sectors. So the other one, by the way, was commodities did well. And we had a little bit of that. So the markets themselves, as last week, as everybody knows, or many people know, the Fed Reserve raised rates a quarter point to 5 to 5.25. Pretty much the market expected it. But the delusional market keeps thinking, okay, this is the last one. There were 10 consecutive hikes, but this will be the last one finally. And then they're pricing in decreases, multiple decreases by the fall. I'm not sure it's the last one. I don't think it is, but we're not going to see a lot of decreases in the fall. So exactly, the market ignores reality. Good post. So we look at the evidence, the same 5 factors we've been talking about a year and a half. And we look at the evidence in those areas again. Labor, last week, job report reported 253,000 new jobs. 185,000 were expected. This is not good news for the Fed to stop raising rates. Unemployment went back down, again, the wrong direction for the Fed, to 3.4%. That is the lowest since 1969. Time for the Fed to stop? Sure, they can wait, lower for longer, whatever, or higher for longer, whatever, but I don't think so. So the second factor is the Fed is still below inflation, although it's getting closer. But history shows they have to be at least at or above inflation, usually 0 to 2% above. So let's say they had to get to 1% on average historically over the last 50 to 70 years. They're not there yet. They're not even at inflation yet. So they're not going to tamp down the economy and inflation, most likely. Governments keep spending around the world. The United States is out of control. Energy, the bull in the China shop. So again, we had the only thing that tamped down inflation a little bit in the last quarter was energy went down because warm winter in most of the developed world, and also because of China temporarily shutting down. And as I said, that's very temporary situations. We're heading into driving season. Whether or not energy goes up a lot, I wouldn't be surprised if it goes up a lot this season, but the next few years, which is a real problem, energy companies are underinvesting by 40%, oil and gas, to just maintain production where it is. And usage is not going to fall a lot worldwide, and probably going to increase over the next 10, 20, and 30 years. And there is no investment compared to what's going to be needed. So this is going to be bad. And then finally, we get to real estate. So this was the one area that Wall Street Hackers said, okay, it's turning. It'll be the first area. Everybody felt it, that this would at least start the process of reducing inflation and controlling what's out of control right now. So the National Association of Realtors just came into this. Single-family existing home sales climbed in approximately 70% of measured metro areas. And the year-over-year change in single-family existing homes was down 0.2%, not 2%, down 2%, 0.2%. And by the way, it was 371,000 as the median for interest. But so this is not a decline. It's just after a huge run up, it's leveled off. And that's just one of those 5 areas. So where's the beef? Where's the progress? It's not a lot. And if you look at this week's numbers, the numbers that just came out, the Labor Department said CPI rose at 0.4% in April. It's basically, for 5 or 6 consecutive months now, been floating around almost exactly around 5.5%. So it's not changing. Core CPI is still at 5.5%. And that's one of the big areas the Fed looks at. And the other one is services inflation. And so services inflation, excluding energy services, which probably went down because of the temporary oil issue, again, COVID, it was up 6.8%. Services inflation, ex energy. This is not under control. So again, where's the beef? What's going to stop the Fed? Or certainly, where's the Fed going to be lowering rates in the fall? Anything's possible, but that's not the way I see it. Quote of the week. Chief economist of AllianceBernstein, a very top firm in many ways, very respected, said, he was the former chief economist. He said, based on the current wage data, just what I said, history says the tightening cycle has yet to reach its peak rate, and the duration of the higher official rate could extend much further than the markets expect. So even if they don't raise rates, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see more rates increases, they're not going to be lowering rates soon. I doubt it. Larry Fink, the CEO of BlackRock, again, a big, well-respected firm on Wall Street, said, quote, I think we are going to have 2 or 3 more rate increases. And finally, in a different topic, one we're going to get into later as we continue our discussion on AI, Dr. Jeffrey Hunter, an artificial intelligence pioneer, and he's known as the godfather of AI, said AI is, quote, a more urgent risk to humanity than the effects of climate change. I wouldn't like to devalue climate change, but I think this might end up being more urgent. So we'll be discussing this later, as we discussed last week on AI. But what he's saying is climate change could be a serious issue, but it's a little further out. AI is around the corner, and we'll be debating that. So, 5 most interesting stories of the week segment. Number 1, the borders are totally out of control. Mexico has been giving 15,000 temporary visas to people at the Guatemalan-Mexican border so that people can pass through Mexico to the United States. If you take 15,000 times 365, that would be 5.4 million immigrants to the United States. And that's just the Mexican-Guatemala border. It doesn't include anybody else coming in, including Mexicans. So this is totally out of control. DHS Secretary, Department of Homeland Security, Alejandro Mayorkas, keeps saying the border is secure. He told Congress this. They just keep maintaining this as if there's no issue. It's unbelievable. And if you don't believe that, normally New York City is very migrant friendly. You know, it's very obviously a liberal city, very good policies towards illegal immigrants and immigrants. Mayor Adams, who, by the way, complained that Texas was shipping people by bus to New York City. He said, "Oh, you can't do this. You shouldn't do this." But they were people who wanted to come to New York City, and Texas has said, "We're overrun. So if you want to go to New York, if you want, we'll give you transportation." Seems fair to me. But now Mayor Adams has come up with a detailed plan to bus people out of New York City to Rockland County. And Rockland County is saying, "No way." But it's like, how hypocritical. The whole thing is unbelievable. Hunter Biden is suing the computer repair store. This isn't new, but it's come to my attention that he's suing the computer repair company where he forgot his laptop. Because they released his information. Now, for, I don't know, a year and a half, whatever, the media, it's a corrupt media, which is hurting not only the United States, but the Democratic Party a lot, said over and over, the laptop is fake. It's a Russian conspiracy. I looked at that laptop in 1 minute and the evidence on it and the pictures and everything. This is not a fake. But now that we know it's real, we have to say, well, then the evidence on it is real. So one, you have tons of emails where Hunter Biden is peddling influence to countries all around the world, including very hostile countries. And you also have, without a doubt, in my mind, he said on that laptop that, of course, or something like that, the big guy, quote, the big guy, gets 10% of the deals, as always, something like that. It's like, who's the big guy? You tell me. I mean, if you don't know, it's denial. So a third story is crime is so out of control in San Francisco that T-Mobile is totally closing their stores now, and other big companies have too in San Francisco. Just like Portland, where we've reported Cracker Barrel, Walmart, Target pulled out, Chicago, and New York City, major companies and stores are pulling out of the area because of retail theft and also because they're concerned with their employees. This is totally out of control. So how does the Democratic Party or at least the progressive wing of it come to open borders and pro-criminal, basically, policies in my mind? You know, low bail, no bail. You know, prosecutors who are letting people out. How do they get there? It's the corrupt media, because the media shelters them from criticism. So you get poor politicians, let's say, and poor policies. If the media was honest, there would be some criticism. This would be good for the Democratic Party. Listen, the Democratic Party has some very good ideas. The Republican Party has some very bad ideas. I think the Republican Party, percentage-wise, has much better ideas, especially on crime, economics, and a lot of important issues these days. But the Democrats are hurt in the end by the news media. It's really horrible, and it's terrible for the country either way, because the level of discussion doesn't get to where it should be. Another interesting story is U.S. intelligence officials told the Senate Arms Services Committee this week that after 14 months of war, the Russian military is so worn down that it could take 10 years to recover. They estimated over 100,000 Russian forces have been killed just since December, 200,000 since the war began. And that's roughly the amount Russia invaded Ukraine with, 200,000 people. This is going to hurt Russia a lot. It's not going to happen, but I always plead if President Putin would think about a totally revolutionary stance and say, you know what, I'm going to become the most famous Russian in history, the most renowned Russian in history, and adopt the U.S. Constitution. You know, it's worked better for the United States. Both countries have resources. The United States is much richer. So he could do it. He could turn around and just say, you know what, I'm going to help my country and become the most famous person ever, one of the most famous in the world for sure. Finally, apparently myopia is becoming epidemic, especially among young children. And a lot of eye professionals are concerned about this, probably from electronics. And there's a forecast that 50% of the world population will be myopic by 2050. So we don't know that, but that's not good news in terms of electronics. But it is a changing world, as we know. So let's take a quick break, and then we'll talk about the dividend stock of the week, and we'll get to our discussion on AI. See you soon.
One of the things that business owners forget a lot is to prepare for their own retirement.
Hi, my name's Nick Palavita, and today I'm with a very special guest, a certified financial planner, a chartered retirement plan specialist, and president of National Pension Partners, Max Couliet. Max, tell me what you do at National Pension Partners.
Well, Nick, we help successful small businesses and professionals put together retirement plans that provide them the maximum retirement benefits and big tax deductions at the same time.
Well, how do you do this?
Well, we get on an internet conferencing system with the client. We review their goals, what they want to accomplish, and then put together strategies to help them in implementing a retirement plan that benefits them, not everybody else.
Well, that sounds really good, but how much does this cost?
Well, it's really not bad because the first consultation is free. That allows us to go through and discover whether this strategy works for that business and for you as the business owner and helping you maximize your retirement.
Well, Max, how do we get this free appointment?
It's really pretty simple, Nick. You can either go to our website below or call us at 877-252-1692, and then we can set up a time with either myself, Nick, or one of our other retirement plan specialists, another CPA or advisor in the office to go over this with you and make sure it fits for you.
Hi, my name is Lewis Haupt. I work with National Pension Partners, and I work with businesses to allow them to put the maximum away that they can for themselves and to save taxes.
Hi, I'm Brad Coyle, and I'm the brokerage manager at National Pension Partners. We're always analyzing plan fund choices in order to ensure the participant's success.
If you want more information on how we can help you and your business put more money away in a retirement plan than you ever thought possible, contact us at the website below or call us at 877-252.
Okay, we're back. So we can move on so we can get to that discussion quickly. We always run out of time a lot of times when we're in the middle of it. So what to do, we know. Dividend stocks, dividend growth stocks, and energy is important, especially pipelines where I think there's a unique opportunity. Dividend stock of the week. First of all, quick disclosure. Antero Midstream, which I think Nick owns, AM, I'd said 0.5% 6 months ago. I just pulled out at break even, didn't lose any money, but I don't love it. It's dividend, and UBS just recommended a plus on it, but I don't love it because I like the other companies better. They're covering their dividend and they're probably going to expand. But my concern is mainly that I was looking at natural gas liquids forecast for Europe, and a lot of their stuff is going to Europe in the next by 2030. And there's a lot of forecasts that say it may go down. Some say it may go up. Nobody knows really, but I don't like to take risks. I like sure 100% money if there is such a thing. So I just like the others better because they have even better cash flow. So I pulled out of that. And again, I tried to reduce energy down to 24, 25%. Okay. Pick of the week, Energy Transfer LP. A company, another MLP, we've discussed that a lot. You can look up the tax implications, a lot of advantages. You don't pay tax, basically, and you get depreciation until you get all your money back. It's a return of capital, and there's some issues in an IRA you can look up too. So, but you can own them either place. So I have a 4% allocation now. I've raised it a lot to 4%. It's almost a perfect company in numbers, and I'll tell you the one thing afterwards. But this is a company, when you look at the numbers, you go, oh my gosh, 9.9% dividend. TD Ameritrade priced their cash flow at 3.9. So they have a 25.1% cash flow yield, and that doesn't count some of their projects that are coming fruition. TDA says their 5-year annualized revenue growth is 17%. That's amazing, on top of a 25% cash flow yield. And their debt to assets is a reasonable 0.45 times. Why not more than MPLX 14% or EPD 5%? Why only 4? Well, the only negative I can find on this company is Kelsey Warren is the CEO, and he has a reputation as a frequent acquirer of other companies. He's done very well with a lot of those, and he's also done poorly with some. So, one, I think Kelsey Warren's going to get smarter and smarter over the years, and also more conservative because he has failed. The most recent one was successful. So if he just doesn't blow it, and I think he will be conservative, but I watch it. Worst case, let's say it goes down 1% of my portfolio, then I lost 1. It's like I'm getting 10 on the yield. So I love the company in terms of its numbers, and I watch it, but ET looks very good to me, Energy Transfer. So panel discussion of the week, and we actually have 8 minutes or more. The question last week we addressed is artificial intelligence a positive or negative for the world? Last week, Kim and Nick took the position that AI would be a positive for the world. They said, look at all the other advancements. People always said, oh, the horse and buggy will be replaced and that will be bad by the automobile. And it turned out to be a huge positive. Same thing with a lot of other advancements. The gas being replaced by electricity. The jobs went away, more came. So that was their argument. I've still voiced concerns that this is different because it's the human brain and the human body that they're replacing. That's my argument. And that there's a lot of issues here. Some more background. As mentioned last week, McKinsey, top maybe consulting firm in the world, said 400 million jobs could be lost just by 2030. And I looked it up, and in terms of jobs, a lot of people say there are 3.3 billion jobs in the world. So we're looking at 12% of all the jobs being lost just in 7 years. What happens after 2035 and 2040? And by the way, an interesting point, I forgot to mention this, the human mind works like this. Once you take a position, it's almost impossible to reverse it. So for me to get Kim or Nick to reverse is unlikely because it's just human nature. If you're one political party, it's very unlikely you'll switch. If you have a position on an issue, you'll switch. The psychological studies show, even in the face of evidence that is introduced that's so far against the original position, people stay with the original position, even if it wasn't an important position. Anyway, so worldwide employment could go down considerably just by 2030, and that doesn't talk about 2040. Princeton University just analyzed occupational risk for AI. Number one, telemarketers. I didn't even consider that. Also, surprisingly, teachers. A lot of teaching positions were on the list. English teachers, foreign language teachers, surprisingly, philosophy teachers, history teachers, sociology teachers, criminal justice teachers, and law professors. Nick, surprisingly, were on that list. You may not believe, they may be wrong about teachers, but you know what? A lot of people now are using discs. Like I have some relatives who are learning foreign languages using tapes, and so. And I will point out one other thing on the teaching area. When I was at UCLA, we'd have classes sometimes with 300, in the class, but we'd have a professor, you'd give a lecture, then we break out into small groups. So they wouldn't be paying those TAs much, teaching assistants. So, maybe you have a recorded class and then you have some low paid teaching assistants, or maybe people start going to schools that are online, and that is coming. Okay, number three argument, and by the way, driverless jobs too, driverless cars replacing potentially 9% of jobs just in the United States. Number three, Nick Bostrom wrote a book called Super Intelligence, and he argued three things. AI is likely to self-amplify until it reaches a level of scientific sophistication far above what humans have. Remember, we're replacing the human body and the human brain. Once it reaches that state, humans will basically have no say in what happens next. It's very hard to make sure that AI will have our best interests at heart. So, bottom line, have I convinced anybody of anything? Probably not, because it's human nature. But so let me challenge you in a different way. Nick, Kim, where are these new jobs coming from? If they're replacing 400 million jobs, and just by 2030, and who knows how many by 2040, 2050, 2060, where's the work coming from? These are robots who can do a lot of what people can do physically. Think a lot smarter than a lot of people in a lot of areas.
Way overrated. Hey, Alexa, solve the immigration problem in the United States.
Well,
wait.
AI could solve it. Wait a minute. AI could solve it. It's just that nobody would listen.
Revoking birthright.
That's the easiest one of all. Control your borders like every other country in the world. Next question.
Alexa, solve the crime problem in the United States.
Okay. Throw criminals in jail.
By the way, my Alexa
is
trying to solve it right now.
These are the easiest questions in the world, except
for
this
is real easy. See,
ask Alexa what her favorite movie is.
Alexa, what's your favorite movie?
You know what? Next week we will ask Alexa these questions and see what she says. I have no idea what she'll say.
You do.
But you know what? Alexa isn't
Alexa's sitting there telling me all this stuff. It's just not happening. Now, will there be job displacement? Since we had this meeting, Wendy's is testing when you go through the drive-thru.
I forgot to mention that
they're artificially going to take your order, et cetera, which means that
they already do it now.
They already do it now. That person,
so to make it clear to the audience, what we're saying is, when you go up to the drive-in window, you may be talking to AI instead of a person.
You will be. I have no doubts, Peter. That person will need to, unfortunately, get an education in areas which AI isn't going to take over.
Let me explain to you another problem.
Wait, Nick, which ones? Where are the
jobs?
A lot of jobs.
Nick, let me tell you where this runs into a problem.
Electricians. The AI is not going to be electricians.
You're right.
The mechanic.
Well, actually, AI can replace maintenance crews. They've already started doing that, especially with high power lines. But
maintaining AI systems.
There you go. There's
how many are we all going to be electric? So are we going to all be electronics?
You're going to have, but by the way, since I did believe, because it's big in media, I went ahead and invested in Planter Technologies and give them a plug. But part of the reason is why, let me run the disclaimer here. It's this company, if you're not familiar with it, is run by Peter Thiel. And people who don't know Peter Thiel he's a chess master, very strong chess player. But not only top of it, he is a graduate of Stanford Law School. Not only top of that, he founded a company called PayPal, the guy named Peter Thiel. And he founded the largest AI company in the United States or the world today, Planter Technologies. So without me doing a lot of due diligence, Peter, I made the big mistake and I invested in this week. I'm not sure if that was the right thing to do because I didn't look at them very carefully like I should have.
Well, maybe if you'd used AI for your investments.
Yeah, I should have said, AI, tell me whether it's a good investment or not. But
Alexa, you forgot to ask Alexa.
We will ask Alexa next week.
Next week, we'll ask Alexa.
Thoughts of Planter Technologies, please.
Oh, you're asking now. No, Nick, we don't have time for this. We'll play with Alexa next week. But again, Alexa is not the be all and end all of AI.
But let me tell you where, as a service representative, where AI comes
Alexa's talking to me about that already.
Is it will not understand everyone's dialect, pronunciations. We are all going to have to learn how to speak a certain way and pronounce words a certain way, or they're just going to have to put a number menu, and you can't ask, I don't want onions, because she's not going to understand that right off the bat, because everyone says things differently.
Well, that's true.
Yeah,
But they're going to get
What?
better
Right.
at that.
You may need one
They're
human
getting better
to
at that.
back it up. You know,
They're
or a
getting
few
better at
humans.
understanding and see.
Right, people
that's
with an
that
accent.
voice
Yeah.
technology has improved a lot. So
Yeah.
I
you know
just
what,
see
we
it
can
as
process 95% or 90%, whatever. Look at the stores, Home Depot. They still have people running it, or the grocery store. Look, I was talking about this just a few years ago, even on the predecessor show, that look at what's coming, because I saw on CBS, all of a sudden you have 4 people checking out on machines and 1 or 2 at the counter, and then they come over and help you if you have a problem. So I'm not saying all jobs are going to be eliminated, but look, McKinsey's a really smart firm. I know them from Wall Street. I came in contact with them, my gosh, they're smart, and they're saying 400 million jobs. So
including
let me give
theirs.
some conclusions, because we're again running short on time, and we'll play with Alexa next week. 1. Here's my conclusions, because this isn't certain that AI is going to be negative or positive. There will be positive. I'll tell you one thing, down the road, it'll help companies save costs. So it'll help the stock market down the road, but not during this period because of inflation. Number 1, these are things I kind of know. Number 1, Bill Gates famously said, people overestimate the change that will come in 1 year and underestimate the change that will come in 10. And that is a pretty good philosophy. It happens all the time. I see it all the time. 10 years is a long time. 20 years ago, we didn't even have the internet. We were all using, not that long ago, we were using dial, pickup phones, with wires. So change is coming. And if it isn't 10 years, 15 years, whatever. Number 2, what I know is these are pretty clever, smart people. Elon Musk and Apple co-founder Steve Wozniak, along with 1,800 engineers and software scientists, engineers, I guess, too, said that they signed a petition recently calling for a moratorium on AI development until people can figure out, is this good, bad? How do we control it? First of all, it's probably never going to happen. That's my conclusion. You can't slow this down. You can't slow down this progress, but this is developing everywhere. And number 3 conclusion, most importantly, look, this is a financial show. So what does this mean for the future, for investing, and it reinforces my philosophy, was robotics and AI are going to be very deflationary. Right now, I think we're going to go through maybe years of fighting inflation. But as soon as that's over, we're heading, for at least 3 major reasons, to a very deflationary low interest rate environment. Number 1, robotics. Number 2, demographics. It's by definition, an aging population around the world and an aging population in the United States tend to be deflationary. Why? People spend down their assets. If you're under 50, you're saving. But as you get older, you spend down some of your assets. You're not growing your assets. And a lot of the wealth is held by people over 50 now. And number 3, governments of the world there's going to be, this is the most positive of all, there is going to be massive government debt, massive in the United States and around the world, on the books and off the books. On the books, we already know the debt clock keeps going up, 31.7 trillion. I remember when it was 23 trillion. It never stops and is not going to. But even worse, unfunded liabilities for healthcare around the world. They're going to be printing so much money. What are governments going to do? They're going to do everything they can and probably succeed at driving interest rates down to near zero, because they're not going to want to be able to pay interest on that money. So bottom line, lock in dividends, stocks, lock in long-term bonds. I like them. Maybe it's not the perfect time, but lock in income as much as you can, because in a few years, it's going to be very hard to get income. So that's it. We're out of time in a minute, even the 35. As Kim always says, thanks for watching. And I always say that. Kim always says, get healthy and get wealthy. And we'll see you next Thursday. Thanks for watching.